Hey guys, hello. Hey Carolyn, hey Marianne. It's Monday night, you guys. So let me get everybody set up here on Facebook. Wow, Facebook feels like it's like really close to me. How are you guys? It's Monday night, February 15th, day after Valentine's. How was everybody's Valentine's Day? Hello, Chris. Hey, Kelly. Hey, Kathleen and Mel. And Kelly over here. And Tyler, how are you? Hey, Christina. I like to see everybody coming on here. It makes me all like, oh, I have purpose. So I'll give you guys a few minutes. Let me know where you're tuning in from, and let me know if this is your first time that you've ever tuned in from. And if you want to, let me know where you're joining me from. I liked reading your comments. I don't have anything ranty. Isn't that exciting? I do have a couple of questions that people wrote into me during the week, so that's always makes me happy that I have questions to start off with, but I'll give you guys a few more minutes to come on. I'll remind you, if anyone is new, what this is about. On Monday nights, we just have a chat together, and you guys can ask me questions of things that you've always wanted to know about: energy, intuition, manifesting, which I normally use that word. So it's interesting that I am right now. So one of you might have a question about it, because I normally don't really use the word manifesting, because I think it's gotten too cliche. This whole thing was manifesting. So maybe we're going to talk about that tonight. I don't know. No rants tonight. I know I'm in a more positive. Well, am I in a more positive mode? I'm just not in an anti-snow mode, even though this week is supposed to have a lot of snow and ice and all that. I'm not seeing it accumulate, so I'm in denial about what's going on. So tonight is all about just kind of learning and listening and laughing, and I don't know any other L words to give you that would be catchy. What I did, holy cow, I'm becoming techno savvier on my TV. Holy crap, that's cool. So I'm big giant head right now. That's fantastic. Hello from Albany in North Carolina. Cindy, you were on my mind, so I'm glad to see you joining me. Hello from Middletown. Chris, this is your first time from upstate. Let me know how you heard about it then, Chris. Thank you for joining me. Greg and I, right before this, we are addicted to the show The Mentalist, which I had not heard of before. And I know I think it was discontinued or stopped or canceled. I don't know what you call shows when they stop producing. I don't know. The Mentalist. It stopped, I think, in 2015. Obsessed. We're obsessed with this show. Like, we literally look forward to binge watching this show. And the episode we were just watching, the suspect in the show, said she's from upstate New York. So we just looked at each other, kind of laughed. And then she said, yeah, and it's in a town called Newburgh. And we were like, what? Who knows of Newburgh? Why here we are obsessed with the show. Why is a person on the show not a significant? She's probably only in that one episode, but we thought that was kind of funny. She's from Newburgh. What made me think of that right now? I don't know already. I don't remember. But yeah, that's what we were doing before I jumped on here tonight. Let me see everybody's. You guys love The Mentalist. We never knew. Hello, Renee. Yeah, so we are completely obsessed with The Mentalist. I want to be the mentalist. I don't like the part where he was like a fake psychic, and every time he talks about like, no, that was a show or fraud or whatever word he uses, Greg always looks at me like, oh man, that's not good to say. It's not a good thing. But I'm always like, what's happening? Thank God I didn't know about the show back then. So I love it. I think he's amazing. I want to be him. I want to solve crimes, but not really. I want no part of like doing that. That's stressful. But the idea of it, like how he makes all these plots and plans, oh my God, he's so smart. So when we're done with this, we're going to grieve. We're going to go through a like binge show watching, we have no purpose anymore, grief. And then we will return to Criminal Minds, which is my other favorite. So now I'm getting like up with the times, and I know how to put Netflix on my iPad. I don't know how to work the remotes still on my television. I get really pissed off about that. We've talked about that. I don't need to go there. So don't anyone tell me what happened. I will kill you. Okay? I will kill you. I've got my suspicions on who I think Red John is. Don't say it. We will kill you. I'll kill you. Okay? So please, please do my voices imitating people. Oh my goodness. I will see. I imitated Mary O last week. She's crazy. So let me start with a couple of questions here. I had an idea. I'm looking at my iPad over here. I had an idea of something to talk about tonight, and I totally forgot what that was. So I'm just going to go right into some questions here. Let's see. Kelly sent in a couple of good questions. So she writes, I know you've said once we die, we understand the true meaning of being connected. But do we ever find out or understand the reason why that was our particular time to go? Isn't that a great question? So basically she's asking, like, will we find out the why of our when, right? Why did we have to go when we had to go? The answer to that is absolutely, because that's all part of our whole story, our whole ego world. And when we cross over, we find out what we were here to learn, and all of that, and our time and why it was our time to go will absolutely be understood. Because a lot of times our time to go, well, obviously it has our own self-fulfilling reasons, but it also, remember, we're all interconnected here. So when someone passes, they don't pass alone, like by themselves, even if they're physically alone. I mean, they have connections to people here. And you, like Kelly, I know one of your significant deaths. I won't mention it, but I know one of yours. And when that person passed, their passing at that time had to do with their own life story and soul's lessons and experiences here, but yours also, because you also, your soul, your human experience, had to experience the loss of that person at that time and age. So remember, everything's always twofold. So not only will you understand when you pass why that person passed when they did, you'll understand why that was part of your story as well. Does that make sense, you guys? I always ask, does that make sense? Does that make sense? Because sometimes I know what I'm talking about, and I don't know if I'm making it sound clear. So by all means, please always say, wait, what, Deborah? What are you talking about? So yeah, we will absolutely know the why of our when, and we will know the why of anyone's when we pass. So, okay, good. She says, I love that answer. Good. I'm glad. Kelly also writes another great question. Does cremation affect the soul? If someone is cremated, does that keep them from being reincarnated? Not at all. I'm really glad this came up. I'm not sure if it has before. I know it's come up in different circles that I've led, but I don't know if it's ever come up on YouTube. I don't remember. But no, cremation does not affect the soul and where it goes or doesn't go. That's a human-made concept. And in fact, reincarnation is largely understood and believed in India and that part of the world, and they pretty much only cremate there. I shouldn't say only, because I'm sure people bury people as well, but cremation is a huge part of the culture and religion. So, and they're the ones who believe in reincarnation the most. So no, that is a very Christian, Judeo-Christian belief of non-cremation. So what do I hear from those on the other side? Really, once we cross over, we don't care, you guys. That's what I hear from them, which makes me sound so weird. The dead people told me this. Ugh, That's why I don't tell people what I do. So no, we won't care. We won't, because once we leave, we're only attached to our body when we're in it, quite literally, but we only care what goes on here in the physical when we're in our body. When we're outside of our body, when we're expanded like the universe and like our true source, we finally understand that our body was just one tool of expression of our inner light, our energy, our soul, our spirit, whatever you want to call it. So the body, believe it or not, while it's sacred and divine when we're in it, it's just a small piece of who we are. It's the vehicle that shows us how to experience the world. Does that make sense? So I don't want it to sound like the body's not important, but once we leave it, it's not important to us. But as we're in it, it's quite important. That's what I'm trying to say. So it's a good question. All right, let me see. There was another one. Okay, so Carolyn wrote this in. She writes, what are your thoughts on so-called cocooning, and what does this mean if a person dies unexpectedly? I get the notion that they agree they are in limbo, so to speak, but not sure of circumstances. And are they sad or emotional? A friend dreamt her husband was crying in a dream. Hold on. And I said I was pretty sure you would say those are her feelings on the passing. Okay, so Sylvia Browne's book calls it cocooning. Let me recap that because the way I read it was awkward. What are my thoughts on so-called cocooning, which is a phrase that Sylvia Browne uses? So I looked it up because I hadn't heard of that. Although Cocoon was one of my favorite movies. Remember that? Totally not with this question, but that's what came to my mind. So, that's when the Adderall runs out. So I didn't know what cocooning meant. So I had to Google cocooning, Sylvia Browne. I didn't see anything. I didn't get it. I didn't pull up anything. A lot of like spiritual meanings of cocoon. So I don't know still what her thoughts or her understanding or belief or description of cocooning is. So I don't know the thoughts on cocooning. What I did read, it applied more to the living than it did the deceased. So it didn't make sense to me in your question. So you're saying, I get the notion that they're in limbo, so to speak, but not sure of circumstances. That is something that I vary very largely with a lot of mediums, and there's a lot of philosophies that say there is limbo. I know the concept of, purgatory in the Christian tradition is kind of like the limbo space. I don't have that experience as a medium with energies being stuck in limbo, because limbo is a human concept, right? We are in between things. We are either doing something or not doing something, and then there's an in between that. So, we always have to try to think of like real, or recognize that certain concepts are human concepts, and limbo is a human concept. I'm trying to think of an example. Like nothing in nature is in limbo. It either is or it isn't. We are in the process. We have evolution, but that's not how we translate limbo to mean. We translate limbo to mean that it's kind of like a waiting period, or purgatory is often explained as like, a waiting period. I used to think of it as a kid as like punishment because you can't get right into heaven. And that's absurd now, absolutely absurd, because that's a concept of, punishment. Nothing out in nature punishes anything else in nature. If there's an avalanche on a mountain, we don't say like, oh shit, Miss Mountain, she got pissed and she like created an avalanche. That's not punishment. So punishment, limbo, waiting period, having to earn yourself into heaven, those are human concepts. Only we do that to each other in this world. Oops, I forgot to turn off my email sound. So make sure, no, not make sure, I just read make sure. God help me. You guys, there's like 35,000 tabs open in my brain at all times. So the fact that I held my train of thought that long was pretty good. Back to cocooning, back to limbo. So I don't understand the concept and I don't get the concept of limbo. I don't have that experience when people have crossed over. I have literally been with people seconds after someone has passed and done readings. So, there's no such thing as limbo in my experience at all. So, I would dig deeper, believe it or not, into the medium's concept of what limbo is, because we are the medium, the channel, and everything that we bring through is filtered through our own experience. It shouldn't be, but it is, if, myself included. So a good medium has to be aware of, like, is this me, Deb, thinking this, or is this the other person? So concept of cocooning, as far as Sylvia Brown is concerned, if anyone knows more about it, please share. And then maybe I can understand what she means and elaborate. So when your friend had a dream that her husband who passed was crying, that was definitely a projection of her emotions, that she was thinking he was sad because she is feeling sad. So we do discuss, we do talk about that a lot, projection dreams a lot. And yes, I know Sylvia Brown's passed, but I don't know if, I don't know what she meant by that. I don't. Sylvia Brown, I think, was a good psychic, intuitive. Her energy drives me nuts just because it's that abrasive. I shouldn't say that. I've never met her. I have no idea who she is, like how she is. What I have seen of her, which is minuscule, so I don't know her, so I can't pretend to know her, but my personal observations of her, she's gruff, and my watch is tight. And I don't personally like that. Like the Long Island medium has this gruffness to her too. So I don't doubt their abilities by any means, but I don't like that, like, gruffness. Although sometimes people say I'm gruff. I just gruff to the people closest to me. Greg, don't even comment on that one. Let's see. See, that was gruff, wasn't it? Let's see. What else do I have here? That's it. I think that's it. So let me scroll back to see your questions, and questions that I answer on Monday nights are not personal intuitive questions. So if you're asking about like your love life or career or families or those on the other side, I really don't do that consistently on Monday nights. I throw it in every once in a while. And I usually, for that, I only answer people or interact with people for those type of questions who have subscribed to my YouTube channel. So if you haven't done that yet, you're going to want to subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you'll, one, be notified when I'm on, and two, when I do surprise throw in those intuitive questions sessions, you'll be all set already on my YouTube page. And to do that, you go to YouTube, and there, I think it's a bell. It's been a long time since I've described this. Click subscribe. No, that's for the notifications. It's subscribe. You guys can figure it out. If you got this far, you'll get far. Let's see. Okay, Kate is asking, how did you know that it was time to share your mediumship skills with the world? That's a cool question. Thank you. The abridged version, nothing I say is abridged, right? I had been playing with the idea of like, oh my God, these random thoughts that I have in my head when I focus on people aren't random thoughts at all. It's connection and communication from the other side. What? When I realized that, I was at a funeral. It's kind of an awkward place to realize you can hear them. I was at a funeral, and the particular person who passed, I knew her family well, so I was in contact with them fairly often at that time. And I would practice. I would say like, oh, so-and-so was saying this to me. I don't know if that makes sense. And so I practiced for about a year or two after that person passed. And there was a reality TV show, of all things, you guys. stay with me here. There was a reality TV show called The Gift going on the Sci-Fi Network. And this was back in 2000. Let's see. Christopher, my little one, was just born. So 2005, 2006, sometime in there. And the whole premise of the show was that there was average, everyday, ordinary people who had some sort of intuitive gift of another. And they interviewed, it was a really long, lengthy process, but it was due, like it was a long like sheet to fill out on the internet. What do you call it? What the freak is wrong with my brain tonight? A form, you guys. It's a form. I had to fill out online. You might want to stick around. God knows what this night's bringing, because I don't know. Long form. Took me about an hour or two to fill it out. And it was due. The only reason why I did fill it out is because it was due on March 6th, which I thought was a really random, weird date for something like this national contest to be due on March 6th. Like, don't you think it's usually on the 1st of the month, 15th, the end of the month? Like, but it was March 6th. And what's the significance of March 6th is that was my first son, Jack's birthday. And I really feel and know that these abilities really opened up during my pregnancy with him and his birth. And so for this show to be due on March 6th, I was like, okay, that's a sign, right? So had his birthday, he was little, March 6th, I had two other little babies. March 6th of 2005, it was due. And it took me about an hour and a half to fill out this huge form. And you had to just stupid questions and basic stuff. And then you had to look at a photograph and you had to do a reading in the photograph. And it was like really lengthy. And I finally filled it all out. And I submitted it at like 12:01, which meant that it was technically March 7th. And when I sent it, it says, you need to redo this whole form. It didn't get submitted. And I thought, are you serious? I just did all this. And I figured, you know what? I don't even care. At least I know I tried. I don't even care. Like, I tried. I got it submitted too late. It didn't go, but at least I know on my end that I tried. So I didn't think it went in because it said it didn't. And I wasn't going to go back and fill that all out again. I was like, forget it. It was too late. About 3 days later, I get a phone call and it says, it's so-and-so, producer of The Gift. We want to interview you. Send in a videotape of yourself answering these questions. And I did that. And I was like, oh my God, so crazy. Like, how is that even possible? I did a videotape, but I had 3 little baby boys. Maybe Chris was a little older because I feel like Chris was crawling around. Anyway, and my video camera fell over because the boys were around me. I was a young mom. I didn't have a minute to like go do this professionally on my own. So I was in the middle of my living room at the time with the boys in the background. The camera fell over. I fixed it. And they said, you didn't miss a beat. I just kept talking. They flew me out to California. Now I'm getting like, holy shit, this is like fun. This is real. This is like really real. Whole weekend long, you're sequestered. You were not allowed to leave your hotel room. I was tested by psychologists. I was tested by psychics. I had to read different people in the whole crew. Super exciting time for me because I was just like, cool, vacation in California by myself. I'm in a hotel room. I didn't care. I was a mother of 3 babies. I was like, this is a vacation. I'm just going to sit here in quiet. And I passed all those tests. And they were chosen for the show, and I was getting ready to go to the show, and there was like hundreds of applicants. They chose 20, and of those 20, we had to take intelligence tests, all sorts of tests, and the final came down to 8 of us. And the 8 of us were chosen. Super excited. I was like, oh my God, this is real. Like, I didn't think it was real yet. And I was chosen. They said, we'll give you a call in about a month to come back out to film. And then the show got discontinued. But it wasn't meant to be. I was not ready by any means of any like sort of reality TV show shenanigans that it would have like did, because they said, what's one of your worst traits or something? And I was like, I curse a lot. And they loved that. So I'm sure I would have been like that, like truck driver, like I am now, you guys. But anyway, after that show, I decided, you know what? I went through as much testing as I could imagine at the time. So that's when I decided, you know what? I think I just needed that extra push and that proof that I was being tested, and I went through all of that, and it's not craziness. And although I knew it wasn't craziness, but it's always there in the back of your mind. And from that moment on, I thought that whole point of that show was to get me started. And right after that, I started doing house parties, and those went like wildfire. That's how my whole thing started. So I know I was going to make the abridged version. That was the abridged version. Isn't that terrible? I'm talking too much. Do you guys ever say, just shut up for a minute? Greg, don't answer that one either. Let's see. Wonder if Brown has come through for friends and family. Imagine that conversation. Oh my gosh. I would imagine it would depend on the medium, how she would discuss. Let's see. Is there a difference between projection dreams and grief nightmares? No, not really. I mean, grief nightmares are projection dreams. It's all the same. That's a good question, Jackie. Let's see. Dorothy, I looked up cocooning. Sylvia says those who need extra care go through cocooning to heal where spirit, circumstance, and death were too extreme for orientation to efficiently help out and heal them. One, apparently a really shitty Googler, because I did not see any of that. So Sylvia, those who need extra care, human concept. Human concept. I would disagree totally with that. They have to go to heal. Oh, no. Why does that bother me so much? Because again, I keep talking about this thank you, Dorothy, for looking that up and clarifying that, because that helps me. It bothers me because as a human being, one of the worst experiences we go through is a profound death of someone we love dearly. And we are left with a ton of residual stuff, grief, missing them. And then we dive into that self-search and we feel broken and separated and just, it's awful. The worst thing you can tell a human that's going through that is not only are you going through that and you don't know what to do with yourself because you're going through it, but your loved one who passed is also going through it, and they need healing and they need extra care and they need extra help because, you think you're screwed up. Imagine how screwed up they are on the other side. That bothers me. No, because to me, that would put me in a mental institution, and I am not kidding. If I had a child who passed and I thought they were suffering and needed extra care and healing, that would send me right over the deep end. So no, it's a human concept. We here because of the state of the way we are. We're here in the physical. And so because of that, we have this illusion that we're separate. We're separate identities. We're separate people. And we have lost the feeling of connection to the whole, right? When someone dies, that separation becomes even more apparent to us, or the perception, the illusion of the separation is more apparent, which actually causes us to dig deeper to get that connection again. When we cross over, we've been reconnected to the whole, to all of it, all the time. So there's no healing, there's no repairing, there's no difficult time. All that happens in this realm. When a flower, it's time to die, it goes back into the collective ether, the collective world, and it gets ready to be reborn. It's reconnected. It's not separated. We have to start thinking of death as a reconnect and not a separation. The separation or the illusion of separation is happening in the human experience. So I would 100% disagree with Sylvia and any medium. And I know there's a lot out there that say that. And I don't know if, to be honest, I'm going to sound like a real a-hole right now, but why not? I don't know if they're just saying that because someone else said that, and so they have to believe that. I don't know, how come that hasn't been challenged in years and years and years and years and years? I mean, I'm talking thousands of years. How come that hasn't been challenged? It's kind of like we just keep doing what we used to always do, and we don't think about it. But if we really think about nature, Nature's not separate. Nature is not incomplete. Nature doesn't need to be healed. Only humans think they need to be healed. So that's a human concept. So any death that your loved ones have experienced, whether it was suicide, whether it was sudden death because of a crazy accident, a murder, no, any horrific, somebody trapped in their own minds, trying to think of the most horrific thoughts of death. They are not suffering on the other side. They are not suffering on the other side. So no matter how someone has passed, they are not left in that state. Now, the only time I could think about this whole concept of purgatory and being stuck, this is how I do understand being stuck, is for our soul's development, we keep reincarnated, we keep coming back into a body in order to have certain experiences. And within those experiences, we can have a range of that experience. We could have a mild sense of loss in a lifetime or a profound sense of loss in a lifetime. If, say we take our own lives, whatever it happened that caused us to take our own life, whether it's mental illness, whether it's financial ruin, a breakup, we can list 800,000 things of why someone would feel the need to take their own life. Because they ended their life, they are stuck, on air quotes, please, stuck on that experience. And so when they come back into the next lifetime, they still have that experience to wrap up, to heal, to suture, to complete. So I can see people being stuck on a lesson or an experience. But who's to say that I didn't take my life in my last lifetime and I'm here this lifetime, like making sure, no, just stick with it, Deb. Don't kill yourself, because I don't want to come back and have that lesson all over again. So that's the only time I can understand if someone is described as stuck on a particular lesson or stuck, but it's not stuck in the afterlife. That they're not stuck there. It's a consciousness of next time they come in that could be considered stuck. So, and truly, this is why this has definitely gotten me through dark days. Because you know why? Because I'm like, there is no fucking way I'm doing this again. I'm going to get the lesson. I'm going to stick it out. I'm not going to take my own life because I'm not doing this again. I'll come back with other experiences, but I'm not doing this experience again. So I hope that makes sense. And I want everyone to start really, you know what? Anything that we talk about here, I want you to feel it. I want you to feel like, oh, that resonates with me, or no, that totally doesn't resonate with me, Deb. And I want you guys, that's the whole point of Monday nights to me. I want all of you to then go inward, go into yourself. Don't just take my word for it. I mean, I appreciate that you look to me for answers, but I want you to feel what I'm saying and feel if that resonates. And if it does, cool. If it doesn't, challenge it. Like, challenge yourself. Ask yourself, what is going on inside? What doesn't feel right for you? Is it that you're challenging a belief that you were taught and grew up with? Does it feel better to stay with those core beliefs that you had? Then stay there. Then stay with those. My intention is to just get people to think, and not only think about in the way that we were always taught, because then we're not evolving, then we're not changing, then we're not moving forward. And that to me is death. Not learning, not growing, not changing, not evolving. That's death to me. Actual death is like the greatest experience. Does that make sense? Let's see. How does spirit present to you physically? Do they speak in words or symbols? Good question, Kim. Thank you. Both. It's like a knowing. It's kind of like your thoughts. Well, it's not kind of. It's exactly like your thoughts. Like you don't know. Like if I'm telling you guys to think about red bus that was traveling up a mountain and past a yellow bus on the mountain. You all have a sense of that experience. Did you see it in your mind's eye? Did you feel it? Did you visualize just a yellow and red bus? Like, you have a sense of what I'm describing. So all of a sudden I just go on like a different focus, and I start paying attention to, I call it the thoughts behind my thoughts. So it's all of the above. Sometimes I can hear their voice, but it's not like hearing voices, like you're hearing my voice now. It's not like that, thank goodness. It's not like hearing multiple voices in my head. It's more of, sometimes I can feel like, oh, that person had a raspy voice, or, oh, wow, they had a really deep voice, or, oh, that person couldn't speak, or, you could feel it. So it's kind of hard to explain it, but not really, because I don't want to over explain it, because then you're going to think, I can't do it that way. But you can do it. Everyone can do this. Everyone can tap in. It's one, your desire to really want to go inward and learn. And two, I don't think everyone can do it for everyone else. And I definitely don't think everyone should by any means, because there's a lot more to mediumship than just even getting the message. It's the delivery of the message. It's the understanding the human that you're talking to and how your words can affect their experience and understanding. So there's a lot more to mediumship than just getting the message. But it's like, pay attention to your thoughts, pay attention to your randomness that goes on in life. I'm trying to think of what happened today. It was dumb. It was something really dumb, as it usually is. It'll come to me. But it was an example of like, oh, that's why I had that thought this morning, but it happens 24/7. But I don't always pay attention, but it's happening to all of you too. I'm positive of it. It's my job to help you guys wake up to yourselves, to your inner knower. That's my whole job. That's what I do. That's what I love. I don't like to bring messages. Well, when it's really, really necessary and needed for someone's spiritual growth and evolution, I love that. If it's for like a party trick, like, oh, let's see, I never met my great-grandmother, but what does she think of my wedding dress? Well, no, even that would be meaningful. What does she think of me? That doesn't fill my soul as much as like connecting parents to their children. Profound loss. That is helpful. But I'd much rather just connect you guys to your own knowingness, because that's so much easier. Everyone feels really good forever with that. Okay, let's see. All right, my son told me my deceased dad visits, and my daughter said she keeps hearing someone say her name. That's so cool. It is cool, and I like that we can talk about that here, because a lot of times, which actually makes me think of something. People always say like, oh, I'm so afraid to say this to people, Deb, because people are going to think I'm crazy. Those days are over, you guys. They're over. 1940s, 50s, 60s, maybe started to change this. 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. No, more people are open and believing and questioning this. Yes, you get your occasional, stick in the mud that's like, whatever. Just ignore them. Why would we let those people dictate what we're experiencing? So please share these things. Share them openly. You will be shocked at who believes and who does not. Okay, so please don't ever hide your belief in this and your experience in this, because the more we all talk about it, the more we'll all talk about it, and the more it will happen. The more you hide it and the more you think like, oh my God, I'm like such a creep, then it's going to still stay hidden and be like this weird thing. And I don't want this to be weird anymore. This is not weird, but it still has that weird connotation around it. But only you can break it. Now, if having said that, have discernment, have a little discernment, because if someone, I don't know what would have discernment. If you ever feel like you want to give a message to somebody, have discernment there. I personally don't believe in ever going up to strangers and sharing stuff, although I used to, but I don't believe we should at all. But have discernment, but please talk about this, talk openly, and know your audience. You know what I mean? Okay, let's see. What did Grace say? Oh, God, Grace, I am so sorry to read that. Her friend delivered a full-term baby girl who passed away a few hours before the delivery. Ugh. We'll send lots of good energy or energy, loving energy to them. Let's see. Let's see. Do I believe we have spiritual guides? Phyllis is asking. I think I skipped 2. Yes, I do believe we have spiritual guides. But one, I don't think it's necessarily helpful to have somebody else tell you who your guides are. I think that's something that's important to experience yourself versus, Deborah said my guide is so-and-so and therefore they are. Although I've said that, mostly when it comes to relatives or loved ones and friends, I'll say like, oh, they're like a guide for you. I've said that. But guides, as far as, for some reason, everybody always feels like they have like this, Native American guide and stuff. And I think that's very cultural. I'm not saying it's not true, but it's very cultural. We need to challenge these things. How come, if we're here in North America, we tend to go for saints that are guides. We tend to talk about Native Americans that are guides. We tend to talk about shamans in the Native American tradition. Very rarely, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but very rarely do we see like Genghis Khan guides. And that's because of where we live. And again, you might say, no, I did see that. And that's cool. But I'm saying typically we don't see that because culturally we're ingrained in a certain way, very, very on the unconscious level. So guides are tricky. I believe you should do a meditation to meet your guides. That's super, super simple. I really should record one. I've been saying that literally for 15 years and haven't done it. And guides, angels, gods, goddesses, saints, those aren't other beings, though they all are aspects of consciousness, awareness of self that have different like specialties almost. So a lot of times people think these guides and goddesses and angels and archangels and all that are separate, but they're not. They're aspects of you that as you pray to it, them, he, she, you're activating that within yourself. It's not separate from you. Again, huge, huge, huge thing that we think largely that like the God Krishna, right? In Hindu tradition, he's not, well, he might be a difficult one. Let's say Ganesh in the Hindu tradition. There's not a guy, Ganesh, that people could connect to. Ganesh in the Hindu tradition is the remover of obstacles. If anytime you're having a difficult time, you pray to Ganesh to help move you through or around those obstacles or remove those obstacles from your path. But you're not praying, you're praying to a guy, an entity, but really you're activating the part of you that can be wise enough to remove the obstacle for you. So it's happening in here. It's not outside. When you pray to Raphael, Angel Raphael, who is known to be the Raphael for healing, the angel for healing, you're not praying to something outside of yourself. And I know people are going to freak out on me on this. but it is activating that aspect of healing or healer within. All gods, goddesses, angels, saints, sages, they are representing an aspect of energy within ourselves. Really important. Why? Because inside out, we talk about it all the time. You've got to go in. Well, Carolyn, you're the one that coined the great phrase, you got to go in to work it out. And that's couldn't be more true. Could not be more true. You've got to go in and meet what's in here and activate what's in here before it's happening. When we have such strong belief in that external energy, that God, goddess, angel, saint, sage, whomever, when you have that intense belief, you're believing in yourself, in that aspect of yourself, which I think is so cool. Some people love it. Some people go, no, Deborah, nope, I believe in so-and-so and they're outside of me and they're bigger than me and greater than me. But again, hierarchy, greater energies, more spiritual energies, human concept. Hierarchy is a human concept. It's not a premise in nature. There's anything that's greater than anyone or anything else. But when we say a saint or an angel, we automatically think, oh, angels must be better than us. They really worked their way up as if they were like, they used to be the janitor, but now they're the CEO. That's how it sounds. And that's not accurate when it comes to energy. Some of you guys are like, I love this. And others are like, click, I'm turning her off. That's okay. That's okay. Let's see. Sharon says, I love when you start with, I'm going to sound like a real a-hole right now. Drop the mic, Deb. At least I'll own it. I'll own it. Okay. So do I believe if someone takes their life, they truly come back? Absolutely. Absolutely. Positively. They come back, and they don't come back in a life of hell. They come back into life, which is hell, like the rest of us. And they work it out, and or they don't, and they take their life again, and then they keep coming back, and they are still kind of stuck on that same lesson or that same experience until they move through it. So yes, they are 100%. A lot of people think it's the coward's way out of something. I think it takes courage. I agree. I think someone who has taken their life is so selfless, not selfish, selfless, because they don't think they're worth anything. I don't think it's selfish that you're so selfless that you don't think you matter to anyone. So that's a whole other topic. I don't believe it's cowardness at all. Courage, that's not easy to do. Dorothy, so suicide is not part of someone's journey or lesson here. Then for those remaining here, part of their journey, living with someone that loved that passed from suicide. Yes, no, suicide would be part of their lesson, and they have to move through it. They have to get to the other side of it. I don't mean the other side on the other side. I mean the other side of that death of self, which is what causes suicide. Does that make sense? So let me just read that again. Then for those remaining here, part of their journey, living with someone that love passed from suicide, that's part of their journey. Exactly. Let's see. What about someone's suicide attempt being medication induced? Does that have to be relived all over again? So it can change the way we attempt to take our life. That can change, but the theme isn't so much about the how we take our life, it's that we take our life, like with deliberate intention. So there's a fine line here too, because there are people who are drug addicts, alcoholics, who are essentially taking their life because they're not doing what they need to do, and eventually this may kill them, but there's a fine line there. This is with actual conscious intention. Okay. Ooh, I'm leaning to hear this one. How can we determine who our guide is for ourselves? I would say a good deep meditation. That's why I'm like, I keep saying I'm going to make one. I'm going to do one. And I haven't yet. I did a recording meditation CD, 8 years ago now, on meeting your loved ones on the other side. You could use that meditation and just change it into meeting your guides in your mind until I, waste another 15 years and get you guys one. I totally feel everything about this chat so far tonight made me feel a shift in energy in a good way. Do I sound like an a-hole? Teaching is definitely a realm. Thank you, Carolyn. I do love to talk about this. It's the only thing I like to talk about. Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Maria. So Maria's saying, so everything we need is within us. Yes, it is. So let's talk about this for a minute, because this is a difficult concept. Well, it's a difficult concept, and then you'll get the concept, but then I think it's a difficult concept to hold on to the way we live today. And I don't mean today, 2021. I mean today, like in human evolution, last 10,000 years, the way we live today, the way we're wired. Everything we need is within us. What the hell does that mean? Because it's sort of like, well, I don't know, because I don't have an ATM machine inside of me. I can't just make debits, because we need, in today's world, we do need money to live. We need to pay bills. So that's not really what we're talking about, believe it or not. But I know that's how we all think. Like, well, if everything's inside of me, then I'm going to be okay, because, I'm just going to manifest an ATM coming out my a-hole. I'm just kidding. I had to use it. I had to say it. I had the visual in my own head when I said my body was an ATM, and that's what I thought. I'm sorry. You guys, it's still early, you guys. You can hang up on me now. I know. Inappropriate, Deborah. I digress. What do we mean by everything is inside of us? We spend an inordinate amount of time every minute of every single day allowing the thoughts from yesterday to dominate today. And the thoughts from yesterday were most likely of worry, inadequacy, what ifs, things we couldn't change, things in the past that we couldn't change, wish we did, things in the future that we're worried about that we can't really predict or don't know how it's going to turn out. So a ridiculous amount of our time, and I would to say even 99.9%, I think that's not even enough, percentage of our time is spent totally out of presence, out of the now. And when we can really be in the now and consistently be in the now and catch ourselves when the now shifts to the past or the future, we will see that everything is okay in this moment. That there's nothing we really have to worry about, which people will be like, nope, I disagree. But even the worst case scenario gets worked out. It just might not get worked out in the way we want it, but it gets worked out. So if we can surrender all of our fears, all of our inadequacies, all of our, BS tape that's in our heads, if we can surrender that and just say, stop, quiet, we can go inward and be more authentically ourselves. And life is a lot easier when you can come home to yourself. You're still going to have bills. You're still going to have annoying family situations. You're still going to have failures. You're still going to have defeat, and you're still going to have all that stuff. But that stuff isn't defining you. So when you go inward and you really get to like, oh my God, I know who I am, not the egoic sense, like I'm a female and I am CEO and I am this, that, and the other thing. The who I am, this energy, just this consciousness that's taking in the world and processing the world in this way, in this lifetime, in this form right now. There's great peace in that, because that's majestic and simple at the same time. It's like I'm everything, But oh, thank God I'm nothing. I don't have to have it all figured out. So whatever I do figure out, I figure out. But whatever I don't, I don't. Does that make sense? Sort of. But yes, everything we need is within us. But that doesn't mean that you're going to live every moment blissful. That doesn't, you can. I mean, Eckhart Tolle says he does. I also say Eckhart Tolle doesn't have children. So, of course, he's easy, he's at peace. I made comments before that there's not that many very spiritual women with children because, well, you've got to put all your time into the children. And then when you finally realize I'm going to lose my shit, then you feel not very spiritual. And so you ditch your spiritual life and you go into whatever. So I'm joking, but not really, you know? So does that make sense? Does that make sense? I may go back because I think I skipped a couple questions going back, and I'm checking you guys over here, Facebook. Oh, okay. Wow, Renee, you were back in the day when I went to, you were part of that initial group of people that I went to house gatherings for. I remember like when I decided I no longer wanted to travel to homes, I was so happy. I used to travel 2.5 hours, 3 hours, New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania. I used to travel all California all the time to do that, which I'm so blessed that I could, but I would do 10 readings. I don't know how I did it. No, I do know how I did it. It's like desperation. 10 readings, and then I have to drive all the way home. And what kept me going is that people kept booking. They want to do another one. I was like, yeah, really? Yeah, they liked it? Cool. All right, we'll do it again. So that's how it all started, but I'm glad I don't have to do that anymore. Let's see. Hello, Sasha from Georgia. I've been following and I love what you feel. Are you always communicating with your own families and friends who have passed? Happy Monday. Thank you. Happy Monday to you too. I'm never communicating with my people who have passed because, like everyone else, I doubt my own connections. And fortunately, I don't have anybody I feel that incredible loss and need. I do believe my desire for mediumship, unconscious desire for mediumship, was born out of losing my brother at such a young age. And I wanted desperately to connect or understand what happened to him. So I do believe that is what thrusted me to be so into the afterlife from science perspective. But, you know, when they say, you know, we teach what we have to learn, or we pursue what we need, that part of ourselves that we need to heal. Like a lot of times, those of you who are in nursing, a lot of times, if you dig back, there was somebody who you loved dearly who died or was very sick in your early years, like you're 0 to 15 years old. And the unconscious mind you wanted to heal that person. And so you become a nurse or a doctor or a PA or anything in healthcare. So a lot of times we have these unconscious desires that kind of thrusts us forward and puts us into our paths that we want to be, what we want to do in the world, because it's like heal thyself. So I now feel that I was into mediumship and energy and death and the afterlife and spirituality and religion from very young. I mean, 5, 6, 7 years old, because I wanted to heal that broken part of me that I was 3 and my brother was 4. We were best buddies. And I wanted to find out what the hell happened to him. Where is he? But once I realized through all of you and sitting with messages for all of you, once I realized the proof of an afterlife, that healed me. And I think, or I know that is also why mediumship isn't my need to do anymore, because it's healed within myself. Now I want to teach. I want to empower. I want people to feel really comfortable and good in their own decisions about life, the big things and the little things. I want people to feel really normal and good about themselves. Why? Possibly I want that for myself, although I do feel that I feel that for myself, but I want people to feel that. I want people to feel empowered and happy and at peace and not all that chaotic, back and forth. I want people to feel clear on who they are and what they want. That's what I like to do now. So maybe it's heal myself still with that, perhaps. So that's the evolution. Does that answer someone's question? Did somebody even have a question about that? Or am I just rambling? Shut me up. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah. So yeah, Sasha, thank you. You asked. So I don't really connect with my own people because I do like a little shout out, like, yo, grandma, what's up? What do you think of this situation? Or, my aunts and all that. But not anywhere like I feel like I need to. Thank goodness. If someone I love dearly passed, maybe it would be different. And then I'd wonder, would I go to a medium or would I just do it myself? I don't know. Sometimes I think maybe I'd probably go to a medium for that extra proof for myself, that extra validation, because I know sometimes we all need that extra kick. We all need that extra validation that's outside of us. Sometimes we do need that. Let's see. The concept, Christina, the concept of God or gods being bigger than us energy-wise is a human trait. Yes. Because humans, the way our minds work, we particularly, it's kind of shifting a little bit in the world, but the concept of hierarchy, of patriarchy, of there's a leader and everyone else is a follower, that's kind of dissipating now. We're becoming a little bit more empowered. But the concept that God is bigger than us, it's a concept that now we're starting to realize, like, no, God is us. We are this little fleck of God, as is the oak tree outside, as are the ants, as are our pets, and big giant waterfalls. All of it is God. We're finally understanding that, all of its energy. But the hierarchy in it, that there is a God and he's sitting on a cloud outside of ourselves, that is a very human concept. That is not, nature does not think of itself as separate from the source, from the connection of everything. It's just being. That's why my website used to be Being, Knowing, Doing. It still is in some ways. Because nature is being, knowing, and doing. That's it. It's being, knowing, doing. It's being exactly who it is. It's knowing that it's being and it's connected to everything. And it's doing, it's creating. It's apples are growing from trees and then they fall to the ground, more seeds happening. So yes, that is a human concept, that something is greater than us. Does that make sense? What do I think of this great awakening? A lot of other spiritual people are talking about dark coming to light, a huge awakening of the masses to the spiritual knowing. You're the only one I watch religiously and really have come to trust, but I have seen a lot of others talking about it. Just curious on your thoughts. Cool, thank you. I don't know who you're referring to, so I can't speak to like specifically what others are saying and what they mean, because there's a lot out there right now and everything feels very, do I want to say it this way? Everything feels very divisive out there. So I don't even want to go there. It's political. I'm not going there. We're just so burnt out from all that. Basically, not knowing who specifically you're referring to, although I know a lot are talking about that. I definitely feel this time in spiritual evolution is massively great. I think we are in a really cool space. We, meaning all of the 7 billion of us on the planet, are occupying and having an opportunity to be a part of spiritual history, which we've always been. So it's kind of inaccurate, but we're at that tipping point right now. I do feel, and I've been saying this since I realized, oh shoot, COVID is not going away, which intuitively I did not. I thought it would go away. I didn't think it was going to be years like it is. But right now, a lot of our distractions have been taken away. And so we are left to sit a lot more with ourselves. We can't run off to family functions and friends, and we can't go to concerts quickly, and we can't be distracted as we used to be. And so that causes us to sit with ourselves, which is why we are going to see, or we're already seeing and going to see more, a massive upswing of anxiety in this country, in this world, the globe. Because we don't like sitting with ourselves. We like distractions. Why? Because it's hard to sit with ourselves. When we do sit with ourselves, we will actually be able to see all of our own darknesses. And dark doesn't mean evil. Dark means the stuff we don't want to say about ourselves, right? So when you read a horoscope, right? And I'm constantly or those quizzes on Facebook, right? That says, what kind of person are you? What kind of princess would you be? And, all these dumb little things that I do these things and I laugh, and I do them to observe that nobody reads, say, their horoscope and says, like, if the horoscope says you are a kind-hearted, loving person who's tired of giving all the time, you're like, oh my God, yeah, I am. I'm a kind, loving person who's tired of giving all the time. And you're just like, oh my God, my horoscope, so on. But if that same horoscope said, you're the biggest shithead, get out of yourself, you're so selfish, go freaking help someone, you'd be like, what the hell? No, I'm not. I'm so giving. My point is that we really only like to think about our good traits, right? I hope you guys are laughing and also going, yeah, that's true. Some of you are going, no, I know all my bad traits. You don't. You don't. You don't. You might have some awareness, but you don't. So right now, the dark is not evil. It's not negativity. It's not bad. It's the parts of ourselves that we don't want to see or we don't want to be seen as, right? So we want, everyone to think of us as just like loving and wonderful and so spiritual. Stop. You're not. You're not all the time. How do we know this? Pay attention the next time you're scrolling on your social media feed and someone posts a picture of their grandchild and you make a comment, wow, that baby's not cute. That's not nice. That's not kind-hearted. That's not giving. That's not selfless. That's being judgmental. And that's okay. That's totally okay. It's okay. You take it a step further and you share it with someone else and you're like, oh my God, look at this little baby there. Then that's a little problematic. And I hope you look inward more on that. But you guys know what I'm talking about, right? So, and don't say you don't. I never say that about anybody. You do. You do. You do. Okay. So that's your dark. That is our dark. That's what we're talking about when we mean dark. The parts of ourselves we don't want to see. Right now in the world, we're forced to see them a little bit more. So our distractions that take us from not seeing these things, we have to sit with them. Our negativity, our judgment of others, it's a big one. Jealousy, wanting what other people have or who other people have, not feeling enough, not feeling like feeling like you're judged all the time, feeling like you've been treated unfairly. These are your dark sides. So we need to change the language over dark because everyone thinks dark means evil and negative and bad. Doesn't. Just means an aspect of myself that man, I'm such a shithead. And let's really own our inner shithead versus trying to hold so tight, like, I'm the most spiritual and giving person, because sometimes you're not, and that's fine. But why do we always have to go on one side versus the other? This time in history is, will you wake up to your dark side? Will you go and see the judgmental self inside? Will you meet him or her? And when you see it in yourself, it won't piss you off as much when you see it outside, because you can now relate. You could be like, yeah, I do that too, differently. Right? So, the whole Democrat Republican thing, I don't know if you guys are aware, there's like a thing out there. But both sides are assholes. Every side. The minute you take a side on something, I'm not saying you can't. But I'm saying that instantly when you take a side, these are my beliefs and this is what feels right to me. That should end it. Because somebody else feels the opposite and that feels right to them. And there's no right or wrong in that. It's that person's experience. This is what we talk about by the dark side. So let me go back to the question so I can make sure that I answered it. So spiritual people that are talking about it, dark coming to light, it's our own dark. It's not the dark out there. The cool thing is when you own your dark, you see the dark, you don't judge it, you relate to it, which breeds more compassion for it, which then puts more light on the darkness out there. So again, going back, it's all starting here. It's all coming from here. No one in history has ever changed someone outside of themselves. We've inspired people, we've had inspired leaders. So people have inspired, but nobody can change someone else. Nobody. It hasn't worked yet, but we keep going like, well, if only they would see, okay, work on yourself. So that is the huge awakening, is that if you go inward right now, because your distractions have been taken away and you're forced to go inward and you're forced to sit with those not so great parts of yourself, the anxious parts, the insecure parts, the angry parts, the resentful parts. As you bring light, the next time you see it outside of yourself, you're going to be like, yeah, I get that. I relate to that. Versus, that's not me. Which it is you. We're all part of it. Does that make sense? Mother Teresa, kind of known for a lot of peace. Gandhi, very peaceful guy. Martin Luther King, super peaceful dude. These people were not feeling not peaceful. They were aware of their darkness. And they kept their darkness and aware of it, like, oh, these traits are within me too. Now I want to consciously act out of compassion for myself and others to bring light to it. That's what we're talking about. So does that help? Does that make sense here? Oh, let's see. I'm reading Tara, your comment. Her husband said, is Deborah just talking to a camera? I know, Ray. I'm sorry. I'm a dork. I love this topic, but yes, I am. Actually, I'm talking to my own face, which is even worse. See, I'm so full of myself. I'm embracing my dark right now. Because I'm talking to, and I said, yeah, she is. Wow, that's really hard to do. I said, not for her, because she's been doing it a long time. Now it is, because now I'm aware that I'm talking to my own face. Huh. Thanks, Ray. Thanks, Tara. Oh my gosh. Maria, yes, I have been saying since day one, please look at this pandemic as a good thing. Please look at this pandemic as the best freaking thing that ever happened to humankind. Yes, please look at it that way. Because when you can, you'll go inward. When you go inward, you fix here, you change here, you enlighten here. When you enlighten here, you have compassion here. When you have compassion here, you will have it out there. So yes, I have been saying that from day one, that this pandemic is the best thing that spiritually moved the needle, as we keep hearing, moved the needle spiritually for us. Those who are doing that inner work are going to be totally cool after this pandemic. Those who are not looking at themselves and still deciding to spew hatred, get angry at the other side, whatever side of whatever it is you're on, just know that you're just on a side. You can. We don't go batshit crazy when some people like chocolate ice cream and somebody likes vanilla. We don't go like, are they fucking dumb? They're fucking assholes. We don't do that. We're just like, oh, really? That's funny. I like chocolate. It's preference. It's preference. Opinions are preference. That's it. We need to simmer down with the judgment with each other because we're all idiots then. And anyone who's so viscerally angry at someone who doesn't think or believe the way they do, and I myself included, you guys, like, I know better. I just don't always do better because sometimes I'm like, I don't understand. And I'm like, oh my God, Deborah, you're not listening to that girl, Deborah, on Monday nights. Ray, I'm not. So, so yes, the pandemic, I believe, is the greatest thing that has ever happened to humankind because 7 billion of us are collectively thrown into a consciousness of, oh crap, oh man, life can be changed at any moment. And now I hope everyone has, by now, almost a year into this, has recognized what's important to you and who is important to you, and recognize who was not important to you, which is totally fine, by the way. It's okay not to like everybody. It's okay not to want to be with everybody. It's okay to not want to, socialize with everybody. That's draining. It's not okay to fake it and pretend and then talk about people behind their back. That's not good. That's not nice. So now it's like, oh, who matters? Who really matters to you? Stay there. Stay there. All right. Okay, Kelly is asking, is it fair to say that's not me once you've acknowledged those parts of your dark that you recognize in someone else, though? Let me read that again. Is it fair to say that's not me once you've acknowledged those parts of your dark that you recognize in someone else? Well, anything positive or negative, and negative, again, doesn't mean bad. Negative just means the stuff we don't want to be, right? Let's look at it that way. So even with our positive, the stuff we want to be, we don't need to say that's me either. Like, that's me. I'm the giver, right? That's not me. It's an identity we've assigned to create a sense of self. Everything we describe ourselves as or as not is really just to create a personality or an ego. So nothing is us. I know this gets wonky, guys. As soon as we like, I'm a giver. Let's just use that one. I'm a giver. That's an identity. And now you have to defend that identity. I'm a giver. I'm a giver. I'm just such a giver. And well, sometimes you're not a giver. So what happens then? Then you're not a giver. So why do we have to feel that everything has to define us? Pay attention to what you create as your own definitions. I actually did a meditation this afternoon, and that's what came out of it. Like a lot of the things that I used to define myself. And I was like, oh God, that's totally like, I love learning, right? And I went into that. Well, why do you love learning so much? I love reading. And thanks to the pandemic, I get to do a lot of it now. And I was like, oh, I like reading because I'm learning. And when I'm learning, that means I'm smart. And then if I'm smart, that means I'm not dumb. And if I'm not dumb, that means I know what I'm talking about. And if I know what I'm talking about, then people will listen to me. And I'm like, shut up. That's just all full of yourself. I'm trying to make all these reasons. So, and it's okay. That's not bad. I'm not saying that's bad of me. It's just an awareness of like, am I doing all this learning so people listen to me? Is that what I want? Yeah, I do. And thanks for doing it. But I'm not that. Who am I if I don't have someone listening? Still me. So does that make sense? So like follow kind of your train of thought. So Is that what you mean, Kelly, by your question? Because I would be more apt to say that I am that than I am not that. Simply for awareness of that I'm everything and nothing at the same time. Does that make sense? I don't think so. Whoa, my camera just went kooky. Let me see questions over here on Facebook. This night went really fast already. I saw someone with my name here, Deborah, Deborah. So hello to Deborah. I'm like staring at my camera. So Stephanie, going back, Stephanie wrote, growing up Catholic, I used to pray to St. Jude when I'm worried. I realize it just helps me get through whatever I'm worried about. Yes. And that's totally cool. Like that. I'm not saying not to pray to outside, but I want people to start to realize that what you're essentially doing when we're praying to anyone or anything is you're praying to that aspect that they represent to you. You're praying to that aspect within yourself. So you're basically praying to a higher space within so that you become aware of the higher spaces within. Higher meaning not the stuck in the limited beliefs, stuck in the ego, this is who I am, this is my identity, that sort of thing. I saw somebody writing a question last night. No, I'm reading and speaking. Wake up to yourself. Okay. Oh, good one, Dina. Are spirits coming to you right now as you do this live? How do you tune them out to focus? No, I put my attention not on the other side during these. So I've learned too that it takes so much energy from me. I know a lot of mediums say, no, I get very energized after a reading. And I'm like, I don't. I feel so drained. So part of that is probably my personality of wanting to be like perfect and like getting everything the person I'm talking to, getting everything they need. I put so much pressure on myself of something that I really can't control, but that's just my personality. It's what I do. And I think that's what might drain me, but no, I don't listen to them during these. Are you able to keep bonds and communication with a loved one on the other side? And how do you know what lesson you're here to learn? That's a good question. My lips are getting dry. Hold on, guys. One moment, please. Okay. How do you know what lesson you're here to learn? Those of you who are taking my ETA this weekend, my energy transformation awareness class, it's all booked up. It's all sold out. I'll do another one maybe in the fall, maybe. But they're going to find out some of the lessons you're here to learn. But how do you know what lessons you're here to learn? That's a really great question. Look back at your life and see what are some common or consistent themes that show up. So if you are somebody who, you keep getting into negative relationships, you're here to learn relationships. You keep feeling lack, whether it's financial lack, emotional lack, lack, you're here to learn lack. You experience a lot of loss, whether loss of jobs, loss of friendships, loss of lives of people around you, you're here to learn loss. So kind of look at the dominating themes. With that, also then, and this is what my ETA class is very much about, is your core beliefs and your limited thoughts in the areas that are feeling not good for you. Your thoughts and beliefs are no doubt wired negatively, which is why those things are showing up. So it's kind of like a catch-22. But how do you know what you're here to learn? What keeps showing up? What keeps showing up for you? That's a good question. Do two close souls in one lifetime find each other in another lifetime? Quite possible. Yes, they will. It's kind of like, don't think of it as like Greg and I, we're souls in this lifetime, and next lifetime we're going to be like, Greg, where are you, bud? Yo, what's up? And I'll be like, Deb, where are you? Can't find you. It's not going to work like that, but because they might come to each other as mother-child, they might come to each other in a different dynamic, but yes. Short answer to that is yes. And Stephanie says, I've always felt as I'm intuitive, but I question myself a lot. I honestly think a good intuitive does. I do. There's a fine line between self-doubt and deprecation, but I think it's really healthy and kind of important to not think you're always right all the time. So, and Greg, don't comment on that, please. But you have to have a level of self-doubt because we're human and we're going to make mistakes and we're not always right. So a little bit of self-doubt, I think, makes a really good intuitive. It's to me, the ones that are, and that's it. They're a little bit tougher. And I've been that way with people. Like, I'm positive. And sometimes I've been wrong. I know. Shocker, you guys. But I think a good intuitive should have anybody, a doctor, a nurse, an attorney, an accountant. I mean, anybody. We all should have a little bit of self-doubt. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's kind of like dotting our I's, crossing our T's. Self-doubt isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's when we're crippled by it, when we don't take the steps for someone to help us through it, which we always do need somebody outside of ourselves to kind of coach us through our self-doubt. That's normal, but self-doubt's not a bad thing. Actually, nothing. As I was thinking of that earlier today or yesterday, of shame, the emotion of shame that we're taught, like, not to be shamed or feel shame. But shame isn't a bad emotion. It's not good in excess when you're like completely living in shame and cloaked in shame, but shame is healthy too, because shame helps us not go to work naked. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of good at times. So like certain emotions, there's no such thing as anything negative. It's just excess or not enough of something that causes it to not be good. All right. This is a long one. Yes. So Ray, I don't know if you're still on here. I hope you are. Ray says, I think we feel that way, that the spirit is suffering. This goes back to what we were saying before, early into the night. We feel like the spirit is suffering because of the ghost shows that portray tortured souls. We also experience reconnects with our loved ones. So many would argue that those reconnects are reaching out to us for a reason, for some needed purpose. Yes, good point, Ray. Yes, stop with the ghost shows, everybody. Or producers of ghost shows, evolve. Stop with the tortured ghost shit. It's stupid. Or it's, such a pet peeve of mine. It's like, oh my God, no. Humans are tortured. We have a rough time here. Souls, spirits, energy, whatever you want to call it, they got the good spot. They're fine. So yeah, ghost shows, just know that it's for entertainment. It's not, don't use that as your reference of how it's like to be crossed over. And I haven't seen a ghost show that has accurately portrayed it. So maybe there's some out there that are portraying it much more accurately and properly, but the old school ghost shows and the hauntings, all that, if you like hauntings and stuff, that's fun. And haunting could be just picking up on energy, but like the whole evil energy, hauntings, I talk with a lot of people that contact me and talk about how ghosts are torturing them and causing all sorts of problems and getting in the way of their boyfriends. I'm not kidding. And I'm like, no, honey, your other boyfriend got in the way of your boyfriend. Yeah, let's look at this realistically. So I swear to God, I've heard it all. I've heard people say, I'm pregnant with ghost baby daddy. And I'm like, no. So on the second half of your thing, Ray, I've heard it all. There's nothing anyone could say to me at this point that I would be like, well, Oh, okay. Heard it all. We also experience, so yes, sometimes we think our loved ones are reaching out to us, but it's really our need for them that draws them to us. They don't need to reach out to us. They don't need to try to connect with us because they already know they already are. And they also already know that we may or may not get the memo. So, because they know that we're in this human form. Let's see. I'm so glad I tuned in this evening. I'm glad you did too. Antonetta is somebody who, during a gallery in Poughkeepsie, some of you might even have been there a couple of years ago now, right? A year or two by now. Her people like break what I call my firewall. When I say that I'm not doing readings, they come through. They came through during meditations. Her people come through, and I'm like, how the hell did they get through my firewall? I'm not doing readings now. So no, I'm not doing readings now. What was the name of the show about a woman who helped tortured souls go to the light? I don't know. Does anybody else know on here? The show where tortured souls go to the light. That wasn't the medium, right? No, Allison something was that medium's name? I am not sure. Ghost Whisperer, that's what I'm thinking of. And James Van Prague was one of the producers for the Ghost Whisperer. Let's see. Yvonne over here is asking, why would a deceased parent come to almost every dream for years? Probably for your need to bring closure, which is a dumb word because I don't believe that there's such thing as like total closure. When we grieve somebody, we miss them, but probably that you're still working on experiencing closure, forgiveness with them. Oh my goodness. So guys, don't forget Sunday nights meditation. We have a nice little group going here. I almost shut Facebook off. In a couple of weeks, I'm releasing another class on my Teachable, which is deborahhanlon.teachable.com. I have a free class there now. I know I've talked about it. A couple people have looked at it, but it's free. It's totally free. Go to deborahhanlon.teachable.com. It's 30 minutes. You take it on your own time. And it's all about being in the now. And it's super simple. It's just me talking in this chair right here about why you would want to be in the now. And I feel it's so important to just keep getting as much information as possible about and around getting in the now so that it gets in your head. That all of a sudden one day it'll click, like big time click, like, oh my God, I now know what being in the now is. That's what that class is about. That's why I offered it free, because I want people just to take it. So it's deborahhanlon.teachable.com. And you can sign up, you enroll in the school free. And then you have to, when you go to the site, oh God, help me. See, I don't do it enough. I don't talk about it enough to know the words quickly. When you go to the site and you've enrolled, scroll to the bottom. I don't know how to make the class that I'm offering free at the very top. I think it just layers each class that I have from the first one I've listed all the way down. So you have to scroll to the bottom. It says being in the now, $0. Click on that. You will enroll. So you'll be able to download it. It's a pretty easy platform to use. And if you have any trouble, you can just let us know and we will help you with it. So that's on Teachable. It's getting late. Right. Exactly. It is getting late, even though I couldn't think of regular words early on tonight. Let's see. Thank you, Kate. Let's see. Sunday night meditation. Please try it. Please. Teachable. ETA is kind of packed, so there's no more room for that. And I'll be releasing another course on the Teachable in about, I think, 2 weeks from now. So a lot of stuff coming up. And a gallery. There'll be a gallery in March. I can't announce it totally yet because it's a fundraiser gallery. It'll be online. It's a fundraiser. So the organization, won't say who it is with just yet, but the organization we're running it with, we're partnering with, is going to announce it to those people in their organization first, and then the leftover tickets we will sell here. So keep an eye out on that for, I think it's March 23rd, which is a Tuesday night. So that's coming. That's my next gallery. Online gallery. In the nicer weather, I will return to in-person galleries, so that's exciting. So we'll have to get around and on board with that. They'll mostly be outside and definitely socially distanced properly and all that. And I think that's it. It's Sunday night. Nope, it's not. It's Monday night. And have a good week, you guys. Those of you in the Northeast, let's power through this storm. Snow, sleet. I don't care about sleet. I like sleet, whatever. It's not snow. So, all right, you guys, thank you for joining me. Thank you for staying on so long. And I will see you guys hopefully Sunday night and next Monday for sure. So good night. Good night. Good night. And I always forget how to turn this one off. Thank you guys. Good night.